and welcome back to Mother Tongue, your eyes, ears, and finger on the pulse for all parents around the world. Let's get going, shall we? We are so incredibly excited to welcome Erin Harrington to Mother Tongue. Erin, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm so good, thank you. I'm actually very excited about this. I
This
feel
feels
like,
funny because I always listen to the episodes, but now I'm on it.
this also feels funny because I'm so used to not seeing you in this kind of like setup.
Absolutely, it's weird.
It feels quite formal, doesn't
It
it?
does a little bit. We're not formal people.
No, and I also feel like my face is very, very close to the camera today. I don't know why that is. Like
There's
you look,
mine.
I was just thinking how much you look like your 22-year-old daughter, which is not, it's not fair. And I look like a hag, but you know,
It's very early in the morning. We should just veto that by saying if we look tired, it's because it's early.
I love how you say that. It's nearly 9, but okay, cool. Yeah,
Still
very
morning.
early.
Yeah.
Very early. Anyway, Erin, obviously I know you very well, but for the people who don't know you, can you
Yes.
just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I'm Erin. I am 41 years old. I've been living in Dubai for 7 years now. Like you said, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and then I have a 4-year-old son. So I have an 18-year age gap between the kids. And I have been in the beauty industry for the last 15 years. And more recently, just kind of like moved into the wellness space, which has been a lovely little transition. And yeah, I'm just excited to chat to you today about motherhood and business and all the things.
So we're going to touch upon a lot about self-love and
Mm,
also postnatal depression and
yeah.
anxiety. And obviously you mentioned that you've moved more into the wellness space recently and
Mm,
you've started the Purpose Project, which I just think is
yes.
really, really fantastic. So I'd love to understand a little bit more about what led you in this direction. What drew you to start the Purpose Project?
So, like we all know that like manifestation and like the word manifest has become like a bit of a hype word, hasn't it? Like over the last maybe couple of years, etc. I think it's like just gone into like the Oxford Dictionary now or something like last year, or it was like the biggest word of the year or something, right? But I have been using vision boards for 12 years now. So it's how I manifested my husband, some of my business wins, my son, the move to Dubai. Like, I've always been into these sorts of things. And then you said we're going to touch on postnatal depression. So I had really, really severe postnatal depression with my second child, with Will. And I think it's been like 3.5 years now. I've been on my own journey of like self discovery. And I've done so much internal work, but I've also shared it on social media and realized that I've not been alone. So it's kind of been a mix of bringing what I've always done, which is manifesting and vision boards, and what I've more recently been through and learnt, and kind of bringing that together and taking it into the wellness space because I'll always be chatting to my clients about it anyway. So I started hosting workshops. I've designed my own vision board kit now, and I'm doing my coaching qualification. And so it's a new project, but I'm absolutely loving it so far. As you know, I'm very, very passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, I need to get one of these in my life, honestly. They look incredible. And I've
Do you not
never
have
been one.
one?
No, and I've never been one to do vision boards. I mean, you know me quite well. I'm quite,
Mm, you're quite
oh,
focused
what's the
anyway.
word? I don't, well, it's not necessarily focus. I feel
Driven.
like I've always just been a bit like, oh, I'm too busy to do any of this stuff and blah,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah.
So maybe
Turns
we'll sit
out
down and
I
do it
was
together.
actually yeah, maybe that's what we need. But I was actually talking to my therapist the other day, and
Mm,
she was like, I've been seeing this particular therapist now for 4 or 5 months, maybe. And she was
okay.
like, I'm starting to think that you might have ADHD. I was like,
Okay. Well, fellow ADHD are here, so you know. All the
but
successful business people have ADHD, by the way.
yeah, well, I'm just going to roll with it. But the whole focus thing is something that I really, really do struggle with. But anyway,
Mm,
we're not talking about me today.
okay.
So you mentioned obviously you have had two children,
Yeah.
22-year-olds, and now obviously a near 5-year-old. Did you experience any form of like postnatal depression when you had your 22-year-old?
So I was 19 when I had Neve. Pretty much, let's just say almost from the get-go, I was a single mum. And so it would be very hard for me. I think a lot of it I've blocked out. And I think it would be hard. I can't compare the two experiences, but obviously, I think at 19, you're very naive, right? So I went into motherhood just like, I'll do this. This is fine. And so any kind of mental health issues that I would have had were driven by outside sources, if that makes sense. It wasn't really internally that I had postnatal depression. No, with Neve, no.
And so, what then was the difference with your near 5 year old? Like, what was there anything that triggered it? Can you just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey?
I mean, I always get asked, like, what's the like, how has it been having, a child at 19 and a child at 37? Like, and it's been worlds apart in difference, both because I'm at completely different stages of my life, but a huge, huge thing that I always say to people when they ask like this is like social media played, like, there was nothing. I mean, I didn't even have, like, we didn't have camera phones back then. There was no Google back then. Like, there was nothing. So, like, I had nothing to compare myself to. If I came home from work with Neve and she got tinned macaroni, I would never beat myself up about it. Like, there was no comparison back then. So you just did what you did in the best way that you could. I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job. She's a pretty amazing girl. You've met her. She's insane. But, and then with Will, like, oh my God, the outside noise just, it blew my mind. So two completely incompatible different situations.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rise of social media has been a blessing and a curse in
Oh, it's both,
so
yeah.
many ways, so many ways. And I can understand how it must be really quite detrimental to people's mental health, because I think there is starting to be a slight change, but for so long it was just like painting this perfect narrative that you could do it all and have it all and be all, and actually the reality is that's just not the case. And I think for so long I definitely tried to hold myself to that high expectation because everybody else seemed to just be sailing motherhood
Yeah.
so easily, and I was like, God, that is not me. Like, my child doesn't do this, he screams at me all
Oh,
the time. My first, I remember thinking, my God, I'm not enjoying this, and I feel
hmm.
like I should be. And everyone else is like, going to music classes with their babies and, doing all these lovely things. And I was like, I just want to be by myself.
Yeah.
I don't
It,
want, like, every time he would just scream at me the entire time or throw up on me. And I mean, it was just traumatic for a good 6 months. It turned a
plus, you
corner
have to remember that,
when he turned a year.
yeah, and remember, Will and Rafa were both COVID babies, right? And that
Yeah.
also played a massive impact on mental health and our children as well. Like, I've been doing a lot of reading about it, and I was listening to a really interesting podcast the other day about it, and it's bound to have had a huge effect. I don't think we'll fully digest it all till probably a little bit further down the line, but my God, that certainly added to it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I just feel like, I look back on COVID now and I'm like, did that actually happen? Did we actually live that experience? Like,
It
it's
was
wild.
mental.
Absolutely
I have a
wild.
lot of PTSD from that.
So, obviously, Will was born. I mean, you mentioned that you got pregnant at 37.
IVF,
I
yeah.
I know personally that, yeah, you went through IVF. So,
Mhm.
can you just tell us a little bit about your journey to getting pregnant, the pregnancy in general, and then what happened post birth?
Okay, so Will was a very, very much longed for IVF baby. It took us 4 years to conceive him. So we were having treatment back in the UK, and then we moved to Dubai. I truly believe that, like, moving to Dubai and having the healthcare and the IVF clinic that we were at here was 100% our journey. It was what was meant to happen. I actually saw a psychic before I left Aberdeen who did say that I would have IVF. So when she had said that, and so much of what she said has actually come true. So I kind of always believed in the IVF, but it was anybody who's an IVF or has had fertility issues. It's a wild, wild journey, and it didn't matter that I still had Neve. And people saying, "Oh, but at least you've got Neve." Well, my husband wasn't the father of Neve, and it's so much of Neve and what her and I experienced was robbed from us because of certain circumstances. And so I had I went into this pregnancy and bringing Will into the world with this idea that this was finally my happy ever after. And I had the happy marriage, and Neve was getting this longed for child. And so I was putting a lot of pressure on myself that, this was what we needed. Of course we wanted it. And it was just everything was going to be perfect. The IVF itself was extremely difficult. I think both me and my husband have slight trauma from that, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest.
I can
Um,
imagine.
but the pregnancy itself was absolutely fine. Like, I have miscarried in the past, so obviously there was a lot of anxiety with it. But you're very well checked and looked after here. I had fantastic doctors. I was never really ill. We knew that he had to be born at 36 weeks because of a previous surgery I'd had. So like everything was really well managed. And although I was anxious, um, I felt like pregnancy was actually okay. And once COVID hit and we couldn't leave the house, like, yes, all of that was extremely stressful looking back. But at the time, I felt quite happy not being able to leave the house and just float about in my pool like a big beached whale. I had a great time when I gave birth. Like, I loved it.
To be honest, I mean, I hated pregnancy. I'm not going to lie, but there was something quite nice about being able to like really nest
Yeah.
and not there be no expectation to go anywhere, do anything, be
Oh,
anything. You could
yeah.
just literally
Like, really nest because you couldn't go anywhere.
no. I do remember though vividly, like for me, that time between like 4 p.m. and like dinner time, I always found really, really difficult because I was
Mm,
just like, I am so bored now. I've kind of exhausted all my options for the
mm,
day. I want to have dinner and go to bed, but I can't
yeah.
go to bed at 4 p.m. So,
Or no. I napped a
not a
lot.
thing.
There was a lot of napping.
Yeah, but it was. I remember feeling like lethargically bored. I was like,
Yeah.
I've really got to get out of this.
Hmm.
And then tell me about what happened post birth. Obviously, Will came into the world, and I actually only learnt this for the first time the other day when we had our event together. I didn't realise that your postnatal depression was quite as bad as it was. But at what
Mm.
point did you start thinking, God, this is not baby blues? Like, I need some help here.
Well, we spoke about it at the event, like the whole kind of defining moment, and Will was 16 months old at that point. So I had really, really masked it.
Yeah.
Probably because I was completely in denial. Will was IVF, so I had this overwhelming feeling that I just had to be happy and have so much gratitude for this baby. And like, this was my perfect happy ever after. So I wasn't allowed to feel anything other than that. So I tried to really mask that down.
Just 2 seconds. Wait, the baby's just woken up. Just 2 secs.
No worries.
As you were saying, mask that down.
Yeah, so I masked that down, and then I got to a point, little man. Um, Will was 16 months old, and it was around lunchtime, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I phoned my husband. And this phone call really blindsided James. Like, he had no idea how mentally unwell I was. So I phoned him at work and I said, I need you to come home right now, because if you don't, I don't think I'm going to be alive come dinner time. I am so utterly terrified in my own head. And I think that, like, that was it. It was finally just getting up, like, just saying, like, I am so unwell, like, I'm just terrified to be on my own. But that took
Yeah.
till he was 16 months. So, like, looking back on it, I can see now where all the kind of warning signs were. But I didn't know if that was normal, what I was feeling. So it was, yeah, it's difficult, I think, when you are in it. And obviously, we weren't around family, and this was James's first time as a dad, so he really had no idea what was normal and what wasn't. So I remember we had like this baby group, and I remember putting into the baby group once. I think Will was around 8 or 10 weeks old at the time, and I kind of said a little bit about how I was feeling. There was something, and I was like, "Is this normal?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, it's your hormones, it's baby blues." But even back then, I just wanted somebody to say no. Like, I think maybe you should go and speak to somebody.
What were you feeling? What were those things that you were feeling at that time? Because I do feel like a lot of people experience baby blues, but I really
Mm,
don't think people understand the difference between
yeah.
baby blues and postnatal depression.
Yeah, because I think pretty much everyone will have baby blues, right? But I would have
Yeah.
said that I was really like the first few weeks as I remember them in like the most amazing baby bubble, like just so happy. Like I took him home from the hospital. It was my daughter's 18th birthday 4 days later. Like, it was busy, but I was like, it was just so scrumptious and I just loved it. So like baby blues and like when your milk comes in and you're like hysterically crying and then like filled with love, like that's all normal. I think like looking back, so I think I said at the event, I took a selfie with Will every single day for the first 3 or 6 months of his life. I need to look at the album actually, because I believed that every single day was going to be our last and that one of us was going to die. And like that's probably not normal to take a
No.
selfie every single day. Like lovely, like oh taking photos with your baby, but there was like a reason behind taking those photos, and it was because I had the thoughts that one of us was going to die. Um, and I really suffered with catastrophizing thoughts. Like they were horrendous.
Yeah.
So like it started to take over, like leaving the house. So like going in the car, I would always think we were going to be in a car crash, or bridges were a big one for me. If I was to
Yeah,
push
I
the
remember you
pram over a
saying.
bridge, I felt like every single bridge was going to crumble, or I was suddenly going to pick Will up out of his pram and throw him over the bridge, or myself. And like, I was never going to actually do these things, but these were like the catastrophizing thoughts that were just completely taking over my mind, making me think that I was just absolutely mental, like insane. It was really horrible.
Honestly, let me just get a dummy. 2 seconds. You stay there. You stay there, little man. Yes. Sorry, I feel like we're having this really serious conversation, and all you can hear is we're moving house, and my nanny is not here. Hence why the juggle. But
You're
anyway,
moving.
yes, long story. I
That's
will
another
explain that.
story. Okay,
Yeah.
that's another day.
Um. Yeah. See, I mean, again, I think so many people experience these intrusive thoughts. This is what I was told they were called. And I remember the first time I ever had them, I was probably 6 months postpartum. I
Mm,
genuinely thought I was going insane.
yeah.
Genuinely. I was like, these thoughts are they're so disturbing.
Intense. Yeah,
Yeah,
disturbing as well.
disturbing, so disturbing. I was like, oh my god, and I still get them now. Like every single postpartum period I've ever had, I've had them to some
Okay.
level of degree, sometimes more frequently than others. And it always now reminds me that something's off and
Hmm.
something needs to be fixed. And I often get them when I'm overtired or overstimulated or overwhelmed over
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. Just over it.
Stretched out, yeah. And it's a really good sign for me anyway that I need to get some support or help or
It's good that
something.
you recognize that. That's really, really healthy.
It's taken some time though. It's
Hmm.
taken a long time and they still freak me the fuck out. I'm literally
Yeah.
like, why are you thinking this? You need to go to a mental institute or be like locked up because you're a
Mm.
fucking weirdo. And I hate it. I hate
Mm.
it. Like they really scare me still.
Yeah,
But now I know how to handle them really. And I mean,
that's
have
good.
you before you had Will, did
Yeah.
you experience any form of like
Mental
um
health.
yeah, not depression. Depression's the wrong word, but yeah, mental health. Did you have any mental health issues?
My whole life,
Okay.
in short. So, yeah, I think I was first put on antidepressants what it wasn't even anti-anxiety, which is what I take now, but it was antidepressants when I was 14. And I was in the child mental health institute, not like staying there, but I would visit there with my parents. But looking back on that, I wasn't depressed or anxious. I had undiagnosed ADHD, which in the 90s, nobody even thought about or looked at. And had that been a thing, or I was medicated, or I was able to understand myself, life would have been so different, you know? But I didn't have that. So I was just told I was depressed and that I had anxiety, and I was given all this medication at a very young age. So that's just the label that I took on, basically. So yeah, there has always been mental health there from my teenage years. And I've been on and off medication pretty much my whole life, yeah.
And what about the anxiety? You touched upon that then. Did you experience a lot of anxiety pre-children?
Yeah, again, I had it at school, but looking back now, it was because I had ADHD and I didn't know what my triggers were. And I didn't know that walking into the dinner hall at lunchtime when it was so loud and everyone was eating, and wouldn't eat in front of people, and then developed an eating disorder, and like I didn't understand myself at that point, and mental health was just it just so wasn't a thing, that it was just, here's some antidepressants, here's a child psychologist, and that was really it.
Yeah, I feel like God, I mean, the rise of social media has definitely been something that's not been so great about the last 15 years. But I also feel like the awareness around things
Oh,
like anxiety, overwhelm,
yeah,
stress, ADHD, ADD, all of these different
everything.
things, they've been brought to light so much more now. And I feel
Yeah,
like, again, I mean, I never quite had it to that extent, but I remember as a child not being totally misunderstood, but my thing's always been focus.
okay.
I'm very good at getting things done very
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah,
but
you
then
are.
I can't read back through my work. I can't, it's like the same with the podcast. I can't bring myself to listen to any podcast episodes. I don't
Okay,
re-listen to them to check the work after they've been
okay.
produced. Thank God my producer's amazing, so I don't have to. But
Thank
I
you.
struggle in that sense, and yeah. And at school, that was I was told that I was naughty,
Yeah,
I didn't try hard enough. There was a lot of this narrative that always came out, and I
same.
was like, but I'm really trying, I can't do
Same. And
it.
like, I cannot, like, even now, I'm studying loads of things. Of course I am, because that's just what I do. But I honestly, I think about it and I'm like, I don't know what information I just read there. Like, if somebody's speaking it to me, I can really take it in. And then that's why I listen to so many podcasts and stuff. But like, if I've got to sit and read something, it, I'm still struggling with it now. Like, I don't actually know how I'm going to get this degree, because I'm like, I cannot take this information in. And I was always good at English as a child, but I would look at maths and equations, and I mean, thank God I don't actually use them in my day-to-day life. But I would just get so overwhelmed by it. I could not process the information and get my head around it. And yeah, I feel like, oh my God, if I'd had the medication that I'm now on for ADHD, it would have been so different, so different. But I'm only now, only over the last 4 years, have I unpacked everything right back to like 14 years old, and have an understanding of it all, which is in itself so powerful.
So powerful. I mean, again, I did, on your recommendation, actually, I did RTT in the summer. And I feel like that was kind of the the thing that really took the lid off everything, and that's where the real work has really started since I did that, because again, it's helped me really understand who I am a
Yeah,
bit more, because I'm exactly the same. I've tried to teach myself French, random, I know, about 3 times, and I just can't do it.
yeah,
I don't learn in a traditional classroom reading
no,
setting. I
neither do I.
learn practically on the job. Um,
100%.
Mostly when people tell me stuff. Again, I
Yeah,
can't do my own research. I don't know what it is. I physically can't do it. I get bored after 5 minutes. I can't focus on it. It's a
I feel like
real thing.
if I was like doing research for something, right, I could read it, but then I would have to write it down in order for it to have some sort of absorption into my brain. It's a real thing, and so many
Yeah.
people struggle with it. It's yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it really, really is. It really, really is. Um, Bringing it back to kind of
Mm,
postnatal depression,
yeah,
when you started to come out of the other side,
yeah.
what were the things that really, really helped you on your road to recovery? And I mean, I know a lot of it is probably down to medication and doctor's support, but as well as that, what else holistically have you done to really help yourself?
I mean, obviously, therapy has been massive, like hugely massive. I think having the ADHD diagnosis also just kind of made so much go, this makes sense. Like, now I understand myself a bit better, you know? Um, I've also, I think, like holistically, so then I've like learned self compassion. And I have really got into breath work and meditation, and I've learned my triggers. I no longer carry guilt if I feel overwhelmed. You know, there's a lot of things, but just little things over the years that I've learned or built up that can actually have like a huge impact, but just, you know, not trying to do all the things at once, like, you know, therapy, self care, you know, taking time out for yourself, meditating, doing an ice bath every day. Like it's so much, but just little bits here and there, and learning to pause has really helped me. And I know when I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, yeah, same. What are your signs? What starts to happen when you're starting to feel like you're unraveling?
I just feel like extremely overwhelmed, overstimulated. I can just get really kind of like not anxious, but I can just feel myself being short tempered, you know, completely just, I can't focus on anything. I get tired. I get like, you know, like paralysis where you just can't do anything because you're just so like, what do I do? The anxiety and stuff, like, I've really, really worked on because my panic attacks were like debilitating to the point like I would just be on the bathroom floor convulsing, throwing up for hours, and then
Oh
have
my
maybe
God.
like 3 days to recover from that. So it was like having a hangover without the alcohol, but it was from my body was exhausted from getting all this anxiety out, but it was also past trauma, right? So I've obviously learned that as well. And for a long time, I was just in a cycle of that. So it actually didn't matter how much I meditated or did breath work or took time out for myself until I had healed all the trauma and really understood the trauma and the triggers behind why these things triggered me and the reason why.
Yeah.
As the panic attacks became less frequent, you know, and I was doing more of the work, and thankfully they're like really infrequent now. But I was just in a cycle of just waiting for the next one for a long time. So you can be doing all the things that you think you should be doing, reading, educating, all that, but unless you're doing the internal work and healing and actually, you know, having the aha moments of this is why, the
Yeah.
rest of it, you know, it will still rear its ugly head.
Yeah. And I mean, oh God, so there's so much to unpack here. I don't really know where to start. But what advice could you give to mothers who were feeling ashamed or guilty about feeling postnatal depression?
So the first thing is to vocalize it and say it out loud. It's the first step, and it's the hardest step. But once you say it out loud, rather than just internally struggling with it, you will feel a weight lifted off your shoulders. So whether that is a friend, a relative, I would suggest your partner, the person that you're living with, because you could be behaving completely out of character, and you know they might just think it's them. You know, like James really didn't have a clue for a long time. And then knowing that like there's nothing to feel guilty about. This is nothing that you have done that is, you know, nothing wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It doesn't mean you don't love your child. It just means that you need a little bit of help, you know? And
Yeah.
but finding that self-compassion for yourself when you're in the throes of postnatal depression, it's really tough. It's very difficult.
And what about your partner? I mean, is there any tips on what partners can do to support women who are struggling with postnatal depression?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say you have to make them aware so that they know that this you're behaving this way because of this. And you know, for the longest time, we we didn't go out. I didn't, like, social situations were just so anxiety inducing for me. And I suppose COVID didn't help that, but like I was a hermit and then I extended that for a really long period of time. And I mean, I won't lie, it did have an impact on our marriage. It really did, and not in a good way. Because James doesn't suffer with mental health. He's never had a panic attack. He doesn't have anxiety. And so, when I'm in the middle of a panic attack and he's going, what are you anxious about? Like, there's nothing to be anxious about. You just want to, like, punch them in the face. It's just really difficult, isn't it? But then, like, if I find good things online, that explain things, I'll send stuff to him, because sometimes verbalizing it yourself is very difficult. But if they can, listen to something or read something, I find it really helpful. James just listened to a really interesting one. He sent it to me. It was on Mel Robbins' podcast, and it was with Gabor Mate. And it's a very recent one. I can't remember the title of it, but it does speak about how the impact of your mental health whilst the child is in the womb does affect when they come out of the womb. And she touched on her postnatal depression. I'm not going to lie, it is quite a difficult episode to listen to. And if you're in the throes of mental health, probably not listen to it right now. But like, he does like to educate himself as well. So as long as your
That's
partner
amazing.
is open to, wanting to understand to some degree, it's really helpful.
I'd really love it if you could share some resources as well that have really helped you that we can link into the show notes.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
I'll share them all with you.
And then I wanted to ask about identity loss as our last question today. What would you say to a mother who feels like she's lost her identity post-baby?
Well, that's where the Purpose Project has come from. Like,
Love it.
that's literally it, because it sounds so cheesy, but it is filling me with so much purpose. That's why it's called the Purpose Project. Like, becoming a mum at 19, like, I obviously had that, label and identified as mum my whole adult life. I know nothing else but being mum. And then once I had Will, and then once coming out the other side of postnatal depression, I thought, I've never really taken time to know who I am. Like, who's Erin? Like, who am I? What are my core values? What sets my soul on fire? Who do I want to show up as in the world? And what impact do I want to have? Like, I've always been a people person, and I love chatting to all my clients in the salon and stuff. And they all know, like, you don't come to me for a relaxing treatment, right? You come to me for a chat. It's just the way it is.
Love it. Love it.
That's just me. So if you want a relaxing facial, I'm not your gal. And then so then I just was like, now that I've got the tools in place, and then decided to study more on it, and then through doing the workshops, which are, there is one called a vision board workshop, because it is about manifesting, but it's actually about so much more than that. So it's about, like, really finding out who you are and what you want and stuff like that. So if anybody is feeling lost, I would invite you to do the work. It is difficult. It can be messy and very confronting, but out the other side of that, I feel like you just have so much more clarity on who you are and how you want to show up as a person in the world. And it is the best feeling ever. Like, I just feel so much more calmer, and the work that I'm doing now, like, super, super excites me. And I think with purpose, so, like, I know you've said about loss of identity, and I think finding your purpose comes along with that. I feel like people think purpose has to be like a hobby or a new business, or, like, it has to be an actual thing, but it really doesn't. It's about knowing yourself and living authentically in your core values. That in itself is purpose,
I love it. I love it. And Erin, if you were to leave us with one tip and one product recommendation for the day, what would they be?
Oh gosh. One tip, just always be kind to yourself. Compare yourself to no one, stay in your own lane, know that you are doing the best that you can with the tools that you have available to you, and you are your own greatest project you will ever work on.
I love this. Thank you. And your product, hun?
Product. I think very simply the Calm app.
The what?
Calm app.
Oh, the Calm app. I thought you said a car map then. I was like,
It's my Scottish accent. The Calm app.
a car map. A car map.
The Calm app, it's fantastic for absolutely everybody. Like if you just need 5 minutes, like there's even like 2 minute breath work on there or 2 minute overstimulating,
Yeah, there's
it's
everything.
and for kids, and there's bedtime story. There's just everything. Buy it. It's a very minimal amount. You will get so much from it. That would be my one product, if you like.
I love it. Erin, I'm going to link this all in the show notes. And for anyone who wants to reach out and find
Yeah.
out more about you and the Purpose Project, where can they find you?
So you can find me on the purpose project on Instagram. You can find me at Erin Harrington XO. There is a Purpose Project website which has got like all workshop dates and stuff like that. I'm a
Love
one-man
it.
band, so I'm not very techy, but bear with me. And yeah, I would love to connect with some of your audience.
Oh, Erin, you've been an absolute star. Thank you so much for all your wise words of wisdom and sharing your story with us today. And hopefully we'll be catching up again very soon.
Where's my eyebrows?
Loves it.
Thanks.